universe
Now
is
remember,
infinite and eternal.
Zero, the definition of zero is of having no meaning, but still holding a place. You see?
To me, zero is infinite.
Yeah.
I mean, zero is the aspectual one in the scope of reality. Zero is just one aspect, and infinite is another aspect. So to me, zero and one are the same. That's the quantum nature of things. Zero is one is zero. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. I mean, in the Heart Sutra, that's the first thing, the first verse of the Heart Sutra is that.
Absolutely.
Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. And in that dipole, 0-1, is the whole of the soul, the reality. And then you can kind of conceptualize what is one. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the world that we see in its amplitude, in its incredible, 15 billion years worth of stars and galaxies, and us in there in the middle looking at it, is one. And I mean, one can be very big, or very tiny. It can be a quantum. It can be a zero. So to me, the soul that you talk about, Brahman, is also Atman, is everything and nothing at the same time. But I insist, and this is my view, we can disagree on that the whole does not know itself fully, and only knows itself with a certain degree of clarity, which means that it knows itself just a little bit at the quantum level. The string, which is a quantum of zero, the zero energizing itself into one with a very, very tiny time and span, lifetime and everything. It's almost virtual. They call it virtual particles. That is reality looking at itself with very little knowledge. And then you can put a lot of ones together, and then you make a galaxy. And then within the galaxy, you have a planet. And then within a planet, you have something that becomes a brain. And then from the brain, from the complexity of that machine, the self-awareness happens. And then that self-awareness also is in a gradient of, am I a mosquito? Am I a primate? Am I an individual, a human? And then with each human consciousness, you have this kind of a transcendence, a thinking that leaves itself. In the Kula Sutra of the Buddha, which is the sutra on emptiness, he describes the different levels of knowledge within the human mind. That's the most complex consciousness that we know of. And he goes from the levels of meditations, the 7 jhanas, the concentrations and everything. And then in the last one, the mind looks at itself and goes, I am impermanent, I am stressful, and I am nothing. And that knowledge frees itself from itself. And that's where reality is able to, like a superconductor, look at itself and go, here I am that. Sam, I think the thing is. So basically, reality, when it leaves the mind behind, the same analogy of the boat going from one shore to the other is still the same thing. It's just that reality cannot leave itself because there's nowhere to go, because reality is everything and nothing. So it doesn't matter. It's the lamp, the lava lamp. The yellow thing does not leave. It's there. It disappears, appears, disappears, appears. So that's reality looking at itself. And when it sees itself as such through a consciousness, an enlightened consciousness, a Buddha mind, it just gets there and it goes, okay, I sit at ease looking at myself. I don't suffer anymore, because before that there was a lot of noise in the lens. But as the consciousness becomes clearer and clearer, becomes more transcendent, sees through itself, through its phenomenal aspects, then the soul sees itself clearly beyond its own thinking apparatus, which is Atman, the human consciousness. And that's when it just sits down and goes, that's me. I just saw myself fully. through this enlightened mind. So it's a coming together, a wholeness of the whole, looking at the whole through its parts.
And that coming together, and I'm totally in agreement. I don't disagree with anything you say. Trust me. I don't, like I said, I don't disagree with what anybody believes or thinks and how they want to pursue it. I'm no problem with it. But what I'm saying is that consciousness that you get when you have that understanding is understanding what the soul has always known.
Potentially.
So
you actualize the potential. You actualize the potential knowledge, that infinite knowledge, which is transcendent. It has to be that when we talk about omniscience, it's not about knowing all the things. You cannot know all the things because, each consciousness is in a place. So unless you use consilience and you use all the accumulated science of all the years of your, and you go deep into each science and you grab everything, you still have to go through knowledge, you know what I mean? The knowledge that goes through the knowledge for reality to actualize its own potential, which is indescribable.
If the vehicle that you're using to attain that is the mind, yes, that's exactly what you have to go.
Yes.
But you can bypass all of that by merging with the soul. Because what you're getting to, when you got to that 7th level, when you said, oh, now I really understand it, that's emergence with the soul. That's getting to understand what the soul has always known.
Well, the soul merging with itself, because there's no separation. There's only one soul.
So like I'm saying, like
the mind is of the soul.
Pink Floyd, when I gave the analogy of Pink Floyd, instead of focusing on the aspects, which was everything that you described, focus on the one.
That's right.
The aspects take care of themselves. So you don't have to worry about attaining this, attaining that, by understanding the Atmas you were talking about, by going in and having the direct experience of the Atma. Everything that you've just described answers itself.
Yes. So how long is the trek between one shore to the other is up to each point. Now, some people take a lifetime to get there. It took me, I didn't think in these terms until I became about 38 or 40. And it took me a long time to go, okay, to build this kind of a verbalization within my mind where it goes like, okay, this is reality thinking about itself. It took me 20 years. I don't know, maybe some people take 10, some people take 5. They say that a mind can enlighten, from birth. Based on my own experience, I don't think it's very probable. Is it possible? Yes. But what is more probable is that a mind, through a lot of thinking, a lot of pondering, a lot of hypothesizing, a lot of consilience of different knowledge from different people, arrives to this conclusion. I have never seen, let's put it this way, a mind that was not very complex, abstract, educated, super perspective.
I can't hear.
I can't hear. Did you mute me?
No, I hear you.
Okay, so it's Ken who can't hear right now. Ken, you must have done something to your phone. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
If you can hear me, nod your head. Okay, I can't hear you.
Well, something happened.
My phone is acting up. I can't hear what you're saying.
Your Atman became deaf.
Ken, I believe it's the connectivity in the room that you're in. Because
who is that?
The time where he dropped.
That's Rami.
I didn't know Rami was with us.
Yes, Rami, welcome, Rami.
Welcome, Rami.
Are you
from about 10 minutes or 15 minutes before Mike McKenna left. It's
Mike McKenna's gone.
Yeah.
I missed something in the memo.
5 minutes. Don't worry about your awareness features.
As you can see, I don't know everything, although I do believe that I know the nature of anything. Anyway, so, well, I am all out of fresh ideas here. As a matter of fact, I think I need to, yes?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm back. Yeah, I lost audio. I'm sorry. I kind of missed that whole last part.
Gotcha.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
I don't know where you lost your audio, but I think we both agree on the concept that the soul
Maybe.
is the infinite knowledge of everything, by everything, and the human knowledge, the human enlightenment, is a function to infinity of that actualization of the potential infinite knowledge of the whole regarding itself.
Both Ken and Luis are conciliating towards the same object.
Yeah, we're trying to
They come
describe.
from different fields of study, but it sounds to me like they're pointing to the same moon.
Yeah, the same
Yeah,
reality.
that's it.
We
That's
are
it.
trying to express conventionally the transcendental. So basically, we're trying to express the soul, this concept of soul, which is infinite knowledge of everything by itself, regarding itself, in a more trivial, more conventional way, which is the human language.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you talk about
Six-dimensional
it?
concept to a three-dimensional mind.
How do you describe the infinite through finite descriptions or words? But you can get very, very close to it. And of course, you have to kind of be very super perspective, very open-minded, very almost very disassembled in your mind in order to be able, as a mind, to understand infinity and eternity right there in one swoop. I always say that this kind of feeling is going through a wormhole where the actualized deactualizes itself and goes through the there's a word for that donut. And you kind of, from one side, which is actualized, the phenomenal world, you deconstruct yourself and the world. You go through the middle and you fizzle out, you disappear, you become a 100% potential, zero actualization. In a sense, you become like the zero Kelvin, and boop, you pop on the other side, quantumized, and then you become, the whole of reality, which then, as you reactualize, become a human consciousness in the real world, in the phenomenal world.
You just described a black hole.
Yes, a black hole is as a white hole. There's no doubt about it. So basically, it is possible, and in physics terms, we could consider the soul as a black hole that has all the information, infinite information, that pops. It has so much density that the space-time is broken. So space-time is broken, and boom, you have a white hole, which is what we describe as the Big Bang.
Yeah, exactly.
Or sub-big bangs, or tiny big bangs.
I saw a note there by Rami saying, nope, I disagree. It just doesn't like that concept.
Oh, is there a chat?
There must be. I saw a note
I
there.
disagree. Rami disagrees. All right. Let's hear it.
Actually, there are 7 notes. Wait a minute. I missed that.
Oh,
How do we get to the notes? I'm new to this.
there's a button at somewhere. Well, it might be different on a phone, but on the desktop there's a little a thing for chat, and it throws a panel to the right, and you can see what I'm writing.
Okay, I'm seeing it now.
Okay, so Mike disappeared. Yeah, I see that. I was actually taking a
I see
leak.
7.
A very quiet leak. I disappeared to go take a leak because I drank too much coffee this morning. And in the meantime, Mike disappeared, and Rami joined in. So I missed half the picture. So Rami, you disagree?
I see.
What's the deal? You disagree with this description?
Well, the soul is inherited. Right? There's no wall. Rather, it is something which was imbued into the first human, whomever the first humans were, And what we have is the inheritance of that one human soul.
Do mosquitoes have a soul? Do they inherit a soul too?
If they do, then it would be their mosquito soul. Now, whether the human soul, remember, we're only using words here to differentiate between a human soul and a mosquito soul. We could say single-celled organism's soul, and we could say that we all inherit that life, that force, that
so if
from the beginning of
Rami, if I change the word soul to self-awareness, and I did a function from 0 to infinity, would that also describe what you're saying? That every aspect of reality is endowed with some self-awareness that goes from 0 in a rock, for example, to infinity in an enlightened consciousness, human consciousness, for example?
I think it's unproven that awareness is something which exists in actuality. Awareness could be the effect of certain biological processes. So we like to think that we're aware. We act as though we're aware. We speak of awareness as it is an objective.
How can I get my beard like Ken's?
But even our consciousness themselves may be a reflection of something that is,
so enlightened.
at its core, something biological.
Well, you could say it's biological, but I like to kind of anthropomorphize self-awareness and just look at something that, like an instrument through which which is reality as a whole, is able to be aware of itself with a certain degree of clarity. That way, I could feasibly hypothesize that a string, which is the vibration of nothingness, the first vibration of nothingness, of the empty space, could have a very tiny self-awareness. That means that reality could possibly see itself a little bit through a string, a little bit more through an atom, a little bit more through a molecule, a little bit more through a bucket of water, a little bit more through a leaf, a little bit more through a tree, a little bit more through a mosquito, and then a little bit more and more and more through a human mind, which is the more self-aware thing that we know of.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
Whether it's the result of a biological process or whether it's a conceptual model. I mean, it sounds a very strong model. It's a very understandable model. It's a model to play with. It's good. But you also, on the other end of things, speak of infinity. Well, there are multiple infinities, and I don't think we've even reached the end of the first one. So when we think about ourselves as being potentially infinite or expressions of the infinite, I'm very quickly reminded that we have a beginning, we have an end. I don't know that the universe will exist beyond the span of time, but it seems that it would, though our form of consciousness of the universe may be superseded or extinguished.
Oh, that's for sure. Human self-awareness arises with the fetus and finishes with the death of that body. But the universal consciousness, which is unaware of itself, if it's not through one of these temporary consciousnesses, is infinite and eternal. I propose that reality, whether there is something or there is nothing, is still reality. So reality cannot but not exist, but exist.
There's something very what is the native religion to Japan?
Shinto.
Shinto. There's something very poetically Shinto about some of your words.
Well, so, Shinto ultimately goes back to India.
Yeah. To me, to be clear, I posit or I hypothesize that reality has no beginning and no end because reality exhibits two qualities or two aspects, which is being, anything different from zero, and non-being, which is zero. So it is, when I talk about reality, I'm not talking about things. Things are only aspects of reality. When I talk about reality, I talk about both things and no thing, that being 0 Kelvin. So, and that's, so whether it's something aspectualized or not, reality is. So that's, to me, it takes away the beginning and the end. Is there going to be a reality when all the galaxies disappear? And because when all the galaxies disappear, it's nothing but a big zero. I'll say, yeah, the reality will be there. It'll be a big zero.
So where are your explorations in non-duality?
The non-duality is only a aspectual consideration of what is. So there is one reality. To me, non-duality is saying that there's only one reality, no matter what it looks like. Wherever you put your finger or your eye on or your ideas, there is reality. Reality is everywhere, nowhere, at the same time, and at no time. So basically, there is the only duality is precisely the aspectualization of the otherwise non-aspectual reality. The soul that Ken was talking about, without any actualization. But one thing that, and this was the eureka moment for me, guys. The eureka moment for this consciousness was the moment that I realized that nibbana, not being, or the cessation of anything, and samsara were two aspects of the same one thing. And of course, it looks really, really different. It appears very different. Zero appears very different from one, whatever that one looks like. But in reality, reality is both zero and one at the same time, concurrently, forever, wherever. That's the way I describe the whole of reality. And of course, that's a non-dual approach. Although I see duality in the aspect between 0 and 1, I do not see reality in the essence of reality, which a 0 and 1 are inherited from reality, being, pure being. So I have both a non-dual and dual approach to reality. But at the end of the day, I only see one reality, whether I see anything in it or not.
And when you say it, what are you looking at?
Everything and nothing at the same time. So it is tat, the Vedantas.
Tatwam Asi?
Yeah, that's right. So tat, which is it, is 0, 1, infinity, or anything between. It is that. Is everything, nothing, everywhere, and nowhere at the same time, at no time, every time.
You know what you just described?
It.
You know what that it is?
It's everything and nothing at the same time.
You just described the soul.
Yes.
So
yeah. I can
you
give it a
have a
name,
soul, by going in and merging with that soul.
I don't like calling it soul because people misunderstand. But it is kind of, what is it? Well, it is it, and it's everything and nothing. So I'd rather not use soul, spirit, the universal consciousness, or nothing, because it is much easier to talk about, although it is much more difficult to describe. But I don't like to use the word soul, although I understand exactly what you're talking about. When you say soul, I say it. And to me,
so
there are no connotations.
That you're talking about is within your body, correct?
It
all
is
living things have.
You see, Rami used a verb, a word that was very interesting. we inherit it. That means that it is in everything. And I mentioned Baum again, who says that reality is a hologram. No matter how small you cut it, there is the whole of reality in it. The smaller it is, the more potential, the more energy it is. Everything is in it. It's a non-actualized reality. So I like the word hologram in the sense actualization versus potential. But what you call soul, and Rami says that we inherit it, that is telling me that you both are talking about the same thing, which is reality is in everything, because reality is aspectualized in a ratio, in a certain ratio. How much energy, let's put it this way, how much aspect is there in a human being? How much aspect is there in a galaxy? How much aspect is there in a cluster of galaxies, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want, we could say that energy is aspectualization of it. And because we can measure aspect, but we cannot measure it. It's immeasurable.
I'd like to reframe what you just stated in a smaller scale. Everything that our mind can witness is an object, but our witnessing of it transforms it to a subject in our mind.
Right, Ken.
Yeah.
If you're moving around, go ahead and mute your phone, because you were.
Oh, I muted him.
Okay, so go ahead, Rami. So everything a mind can represent, let's put it this way, of what is.
Right. So
you were saying that every mind is a representation.
We have our subjective understanding of that object. We'd always like to think that what we view or what we understand is the objective universe, but really it's a series of objects that our mind is constructing for us. And in that process, somehow, whether we want to or not, we're always attaching some level or degree of subjectivity to that. So I can speak of this subject, you can speak of that subject. The objective is not necessarily what we're experiencing or what we're explaining.
Correct.
We're always sort of reaching or grabbing or groping or.
Let me pause you there. Let me pause you. Don't lose the string of thought. Jairo, go ahead and share with Rami that little analysis of Boltzmann's concept of reality. And you will see in it, Rami, exactly what you just said, that the mind represents what is. So the mind is always kind of extracting aspects and ideas and things of the whole thing, of it. I think that's where you were going with this, right?
Well, actually, I wanted to explore the idea of territory. Because when you delve into, okay, I'm just going to watch. Oh, that's right, Boltzmann's concept of reality. Thank you.
If you read that, I think it's going to tell you exactly what you are talking about. How the mind represents the whole, and how many different ways you can represent it, and how you should be very super perspectivist in how you look at things, because the whole, it is really, really, really eternal and infinite. So how do you describe it? How do you represent it to yourself? By looking at the aspects of it, because you don't see the whole thing. You don't see the non-phenomenal side of reality, the non-aspectual side of reality, which is also always infinite, an infinite non-being. So what we see of reality, according to science, is about what, 5% of the whole energy of the universe, because 5% is atoms and stuff that we can measure, the phenomenal thing, and that includes our mind. You know, how the visible side is able to look at it and measure and think about it. And then there's dark energy, dark matter, I'm sorry, which we don't see, but we know it's there because of the gravitational pull of nothing. We don't see anything, but we feel the gravitational pull. That's how galaxies, stay the way they are. And then there's a freaking amount of 75% of dark energy, which I suspect is the non-phenomenal, non-aspectual side of reality, which we don't even know what it is. But actually, when you think about it, it makes the universe expand. It's like a positive force instead of a negative force. So the yin yang that we, the yin yang represents very well my description of reality. The yin would be the dark, the non-being, non-phenomenal, non-aspectual, and the being, the yang, or the yin, I don't know which one I called it, is the phenomenal side of it. But they're both the same thing. They're not different. They look different. They feel different to our consciousness, but they are the same thing. And it's infinite too. So that yin yang, we see it as a circle, but the circle has no boundaries. It's everywhere, all the time, etc., etc. But those two qualities of being and non-being, nibbana, samsara, are easily distinguishable by a self-aware mind. I don't know if I derailed your train of thought, Rami.
It's all right. I'm also while you're speaking, I'm reading and also contemplating while holding the prior concept. So I'm using my four-way neurons here.
Yeah. Anyway, so this conversation is very enriching because there are four minds talking about the unspeakable, the undescribable, the ineffable, and I think we are able to reach some consilience, some perspectivism, so we can talk about what is unspeakable and still agree a little bit of what we're looking at, which we don't see, we can't feel it, we can't touch it, we can't measure it. It's like Kant was talking about the noumenon and phenomena. Actually, he was talking also about noumena. And there I disagree because I would lump everything, any non-being, any non-phenomenal, non-describable, as part of the yin of reality. So I cannot imagine being able to cut whatever is not cuttable.